The enormous glass dome of the Galactic Council Chamber shone under 3 different suns. Inside, officials from 200 alien species occupied their assigned seats, gazing down at the small human group below. The humans looked insignificant next to the towering Vorak fighters, the drifting Etherian energy forms, and the heavy shell-covered Krex leaders. Ambassador Sarah Chen waited at the speaking stage with her hands folded. She appeared calm, though those familiar with humans might have spotted tension across her shoulders. Behind her sat Earth's full diplomatic group, 5 people in plain dark suits that looked simple next to the fancy robes and armor of other beings. Floating above everything, Speaker Valdris of the ancient Athetheran collective spoke through his energy form without using a mouth. The Athetherans had traveled between stars for more than 10,000 years. To them, humanity seemed barely smarter than animals that had just learned to leave their planet. "The Council recognizes Commander Thrak of the Vorthak Empire," announced Valdris. The massive Vorthak fighter rose from his seat. Thrak stood almost 9 feet tall with claws capable of tearing metal. His red skin showed ritual scars from many battles, each one marking moments of honor and wins. Bone crests on his skull showed his noble rank, a commander whose record held no defeats. "Honored Council," his voice filled the chamber, "the Vorak Empire brings a serious matter before you. The humans have claimed mining rights to 17 outer systems. These areas hold resources that belong to established council members." Sounds of agreement rippled through the space. Many alien species nodded. Humans had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years earlier, which was yesterday in galactic time. Most species had been members for thousands of years. Thrak continued, moving his forearms for effect. "The Vorak Empire has guarded these systems for more than 800 years. We have fought and died defending them from thieves and attackers. Now these newcomers say they can mine our worlds just because they filed the correct paperwork." More agreement echoed across the chamber. The Krex delegates clicked their approval with their massive claws. The insect-like Zak species buzzed in unison to show support. Even some neutral species seemed to side with the Vorak position. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "May I respond to these words?" Speaker Valdris's energy form pulsed with what looked like amusement. "The Council recognizes the human delegation." Sarah Chen looked up at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. She had been Earth's ambassador for 12 years. She had attended countless meetings where other beings treated humans like young children needing instruction. She had smiled politely while alien officials explained how things worked in the real galaxy. She had held her tongue when species that never fought serious wars lectured her about military tactics. The 17 systems in question were unclaimed territory under galactic law, Chen said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Earth followed all proper steps. We filed exploration claims, ran mineral tests, and submitted findings to the Council registry. Everything was done exactly as the law requires." Commander Thrak's bone crests flared with anger. "Laws, you speak of laws. The Vorhik Empire has shed blood for those systems. We have honor claims going back centuries. What do you humans understand about honor?" Chen felt something cold inside her. She knew where this was heading. The Vorak were warriors who believed strength determined right. They respected only power, and they saw humans as weak because Earth had never fought a major galactic war. "We know enough about honor to follow the laws we agreed to when we joined this council," Chen replied. "If the Vorak Empire wanted those systems, they should have filed the proper paperwork centuries ago." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and alien roars. Multiple species began arguing with each other. The Vorak group stood together, claws extended in challenge. Commander Thrash's voice rose above the noise. "Paper? You think your human paperwork matters more than Vorak blood? More than Vorak honor?" Speaker Valdris extended energy strands to bring back order. "The Council will maintain proper conduct, but Thrak didn't care about conduct. His species had been fighters for thousands of years. They had taken dozens of worlds through strength and courage. They refused to hear lectures from humans who barely knew how to leave their own solar system." "The Vorak Empire gives this final demand," Thrax announced. "The humans will give up their claims to all disputed systems in 30 standard days. They will pay compensation for this insult to Vorak honor, and they will accept that junior species do not challenge their superiors." The chamber fell silent. This wasn't how arguments between nations usually worked. Such matters normally went to decision committees that spent years making complex arrangements. Direct demands like this were thought to be crude and primitive. Ambassador Chen felt her heart race faster, but her voice stayed steady. Earth rejects this demand. We will not abandon legal claims because someone scares us. Commander Thragus's claw scraped the metal of his seat. Then you will find out what happens when young species forget their position. Speaker Valdris pulsed with worry. Commander Thrach, the Council strongly recommends against military action over territory disputes. There are proper ways to handle these matters. The Vorhak Empire has used your proper ways for 50 years, Thrakage snarled. We have watched while species that never fought for anything take the rewards of our sacrifice. Never again. The humans will show proper respect or they will be forced to. The massive fighter turned to stare directly at Ambassador Chen. 30 days, human. Give up your claims and pay tribute or face what comes. Chen stared back without looking away. She could feel how tense the chamber was. Most council members looked uncomfortable. They preferred their fights to be orderly, resolved through talks and give and take. The Vorak were threatening the kind of direct military action that hadn't happened in the main galaxy for hundreds of years. Earth's position will not change, Chen said quietly. We will not abandon legal claims because of scare tactics. Thraxia's bone crests flared once more. He turned and left the chamber, followed by the rest of his group. His heavy footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet. Speaker Valdris floated down closer to the human group. Ambassador Chen, perhaps you should think again. The Vorak care deeply about honor. Surely some middle ground exists. Chen looked up at the ancient energy being. Valdris had lived for more than 3,000 years. He had seen many nations come and go. To him, the current argument was just another small territory question that could be answered through patient negotiation. With respect, Speaker Valdris, Earth will not set the example that legal claims can be overturned by military pressure. If we back down now, what message does that send to other beings who might want to challenge human settlements? Several alien officials nodded with understanding. They grasped the principle, even if they thought the humans were being foolishly stubborn. In galactic politics, backing down from one threat often brought many more. Elder Kais of the Krek spoke up, his voice like grinding rocks. The humans show bravery, but perhaps not smart thinking. The Vorak are mighty fighters. Their fleets have taken many worlds. Ambassador Chen turned to face the massive Krek's elder. We thank you for your concern, Elder Kais. But Earth has faced dangers before. Several alien officials made sounds that passed for laughing in their species. Earth's military history was well known in the Council database, but most beings saw it as primitive violence rather than serious combat. Humans fought with chemical explosions and thrown weapons. They had never faced antimatter cannons or gravity bombs. They didn't know real galactic warfare. The meeting ended with the normal diplomatic exchanges, but everyone knew the real decisions would happen in private talks over the following days. Ambassador Chen and her group went back to Earth's embassy, a modest building that looked tiny compared to the huge structures kept by older species. That night, Chen sent a secret message to Earth. She described what happened and urged that all human colonies in the disputed systems prepare for danger. She also suggested that the Colonial Defense Force move ships into readiness, though she doubted they would matter against serious Vorak warships. On the Vorak homeworld of Korath, Commander Thra knelt before the war council of his people. The 7 greatest fighters of the Vorak Empire sat in their ceremonial armor, their bone crests showing their complete power. The humans refused to show proper respect, Thrax reported. They hide behind their paperwork and ignore the worth of our blood claims. War leader Drakori, the oldest council member, leaned forward. His scars were so thick they made patterns across his red skin. He had led the Vorthak to victory in many campaigns over the past hundreds of years against serious galactic military technology. Thrakos opened communications with the colony's leader. Human leader, I am Commander Thrakish of the Vorak Empire. Your species has shown disrespect to ancient claims of honor. We are here to fix this error. Governor Martinez appeared on the communication screen. He was an older man with gray hair and concerned eyes. Commander, this is a peaceful colony. We have women and children here. Surely we can work through any disagreement through talks. Negotiation has failed, Thrax replied. Your leaders chose defiance over smart thinking. Now you will pay the price for such foolishness. Clear all civilians. We will start targeted strikes on military and industrial targets in 1 standard hour. The next hour brought chaos on New Geneva. Families loaded into ground vehicles and fled to open country. The few military people on the planet started sending surrender signals, hoping to reduce damage. Most colonists had never seen conflict outside of history programs. Thresh's fleet started its strike. Energy beams fell from space, destroying the small military base in seconds. The orbital station vanished in a quick burst of light. Industrial centers became glowing holes. The strikes were exact and professional. The Vorak weapons specialists had hundreds of years of experience. They could wreck one building without touching structures next to it. This was meant to teach a lesson, not kill everyone. But even advanced technology sometimes breaks. The targeting computer on Thraxur's main ship had a small problem, the kind of tiny mistake that happens once in millions of tries. An energy beam meant for a communications hub shifted 3 degrees off course. The beam hit the New Geneva Children's Hospital. 847 children died in that moment. They were playing outside, sleeping in beds, getting treatment for small illnesses and injuries. The energy beam vaporized the whole building in less than 1 second. Thraj stared at his battle screen in shock. The weapons specialist checked the numbers again and again, his claws shaking as he confirmed what had occurred. "Commander," the officer whispered. We hit a civilian place, a medical center for young ones." Thrakosh felt something freeze inside his chest. The Vorak were fighters, but they were not savages. They followed honor codes that went back thousands of years. The safety of young ones was sacred to all decent species. "Stop fire," Thrax ordered. "All ships stop fire right now." He opened an urgent channel to New Geneva's government center. "Governor Martinez, there has been a terrible mistake. One of our weapons broke. We hit a medical place." Governor Martinez's face appeared on the screen, stricken. "You destroyed the children's hospital." Thrakosh had never felt such disgrace in his life. "Governor, please know this was not on purpose. Our targeting systems broke. We will give instant medical help and full payment under galactic law." But Martinez had already ended the call. Within hours, news of the tragedy spread throughout human space. Pictures of the destroyed hospital appeared on every screen. Names and faces of the dead children were shown continuously. The galaxy watched as humanity grieved its young. Ambassador Chen got the news in her embassy office. She sat quiet for a long time, looking at the list of casualties. 847 names. 847 possible futures that would not happen. Then she started making calls. First to Earth's government, then to military officials, then to contacts all across human space. Each call was short and quiet, but the meaning was always the same. The children were gone. Someone would answer for it. The Galactic Council immediately called for an urgent meeting. The Vorak formally said sorry and offered huge payments. Commander Thra publicly said he was responsible for the mistake. By every rule of galactic law and custom, the question should have been finished. But humanity said nothing for 3 days. No human leader made any statement. Earth's embassy stopped accepting calls from other beings. Human settlements all went quiet. The galaxy saw complete silence. The quiet was absolute and frightening. On the 4th day, Ambassador Chen walked into the council chamber. She looked smaller and more fragile than ever, her face gray with sorrow. The entire gallery watched as she went to the speaking stage. "The government of Earth accepts the Vorak Empire's apology for the terrible mistake at New Geneva," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We acknowledge that the deaths were not done on purpose." Relief flooded through the chamber. The crisis would finish. Humanity would be reasonable. Chen continued. "Earth hereby gives up all territory claims in the disputed systems. We will agree to any peace contract the Vorthak Empire wants. We want no more fighting with your people." Speaker Valdris pulsed with pleasure. "The Council is glad this question can be worked out peacefully. Ambassador Chen, your species shows smart thinking in choosing middle ground over fighting." Chen nodded slowly. "We are after all just a young species. We have much to learn about how things work in the galaxy." She turned to go, then stopped. "There is one small request. Earth would like to build a memorial for the children who died. Something simple just to help our people handle their pain. We ask for 30 days to finish this memorial before we sign the final peace agreements." The request seemed entirely normal. Every species knew about the need to remember the dead. "Granted," Speaker Valdris said right away. "Take whatever time you need." Chen bowed with respect and left the chamber. Behind her, the alien delegation started talking about how impressed they were with human maturity. The crisis had ended without major problems. None of them noticed that Chen never said what kind of memorial Earth was going to make. And none of them knew that Earth's military had started preparing for war from the moment the first child died on New Geneva. The quiet was about to end. And when it did, The galaxy would find out that humans did not build memorials from rock. The human manufacturing base had been still for 50 years. When Earth joined the Galactic Council, they had agreed to reduce military making in favor of trade and talks. The massive shipyards that had built humanity's first space fleet got turned into regular manufacturing. Weapons factories became centers for everyday goods. The galaxy saw this as proof that humans were learning to be orderly, but the galaxy had misread what they were seeing. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez stood in the battle center deep under Cheyenne Mountain, looking at screens that most humans had forgotten existed. He was 63 years old with silver hair and marks on his hands from his time as a Marine. He had fought in the last local wars before Earth's entry to the Council, and he knew what humanity could do when pushed to its limits. "Status report," Rodriguez said to the officers around him. Colonel Sarah Chen looked up from her battle screen. She was young for her rank, moved up quickly during the peaceful military, but her family came from old Korea, and she knew what all-out war meant. "All defense companies have gotten activation codes," Kim reported. "Lockheed Martin is changing their regular shipmaking. Boeing has called back all their military designers from retirement. The Russians have opened their locked weapons centers. China has turned on their hidden shipyards." Rodriguez nodded. After joining the Council, Earth had promised to reduce military making. But humans had learned long ago never to disarm completely. Locked facilities, equipment kept ready, retired workers who could come back in emergencies. Everything had been prepared just in case. What about the colonies? "Every human settlement outside the Sol system is sending away non-essential people," Kim replied. "The mining colonies are moving their equipment to safe spots. Farm worlds are gathering food and medical supplies." Rodriguez walked to the main display, which showed where every known Vorak military group was in the galaxy. The alien empire was strong. Their 12 battle fleets held more than 3,000 ships. Each one was bigger and more advanced than anything in Earth's known navy. But Rodriguez wasn't looking at their known navy. "Give me the real numbers," he said quietly. Kim stopped, then opened secret files that hadn't been used in decades. "If we turn on everything, Project Deep Strike has 1,800 ships ready right now. Another 3,000 can be finished in 6 months. The weapon stockpiles hold enough antimatter warheads to destroy every Vorak world at once." The other officers in the room fell silent. They knew about some of humanity's locked military tools, but seeing everything was shocking. Earth had spent 50 years acting like a peaceful species, while secretly preparing for the kind of all-out war that most galactic peoples had forgotten was possible. Rodriguez studied the numbers. During humanity's growth into space, they had learned tough lessons about staying alive. Thieves, hostile aliens, resource fights. Humanity had faced them all. The Galactic Council offered peace and safety, but humans kept in mind that peace was something you got ready for by being ready to fight. "What about the Vorak response to our diplomatic activities?" Kim brought up intelligence reports. "Commander Thra has been called back to face a formal review about the New Geneva incident. War leader Draymore made a public statement saying sorry for the mistake. They're giving to pay for rebuilding the hospital and money for all affected families, and their military position unchanged. They have small patrols in the disputed systems, but nothing that says they expect retaliation. Their intelligence work ranks humanity as a minimal military threat in their newest report." Rodriguez almost smiled. The Vorak were good fighters and honorable warriors, but they thought like soldiers and warriors. They thought Earth would respond with angry statements and official complaints. They thought human retaliation would follow the same fighting patterns as their own battles. Direct confrontation between military groups with obvious rules and honor codes. They had no idea what human military thinking actually looked like. "Activate Operation Memorial," Rodriguez commanded. Colonel Kim's fingers stopped over her control board. "Sir, once we start, there's no going back. The aliens will see what we're really made of." Rodriguez thought about the pictures from New Geneva. 847 small coffins. 847 families destroyed. 847 possible lives erased by what the Vorak called a mistake. "Good," Rodriguez said. "It's time they found out." Across human space, the real military started to wake up. Locked shipyards powered up their production. Frameworks, sealed weapons centers opened their blast doors. Retired officials came back to work. Experts who had been doing peaceful study projects suddenly went to military uses. But none of it was obvious from outside human space. The Vorak intelligence services watched Earth's public activities and saw exactly what they thought they would see. A grieving species trying to work through sadness, through talks. Human news showed memorial services and wishes for peace. Earth's known military stayed at normal readiness. The few human warships in space kept their regular patrol paths. Commander Thra sat in his quarters aboard the Vorthak main ship, composing his formal report on the New Geneva incident. The review group would study his actions and decide if he had broken military rules. He thought he would be removed from command, maybe even removed from the warrior class entirely. It was a heavy cost to pay for a mistake, but Thrax accepted it. He had been in charge of the mission, and therefore in charge of the terrible results. That was the Vorak way. Leaders took responsibility for their mistakes. His aide came into the cabin and bowed with respect. "Commander, we got a message from the human ambassador." Thrax looked up from his report. "What do they want now?" "Ambassador Chen wants a private meeting. She says Earth wants to discuss the memorial plans and make sure they don't go against any Vorthak cultural values." Thrakos frowned. The request seemed normal, even kind. Most species would want to make sure their memorials didn't accidentally offend the people in the tragedy. "Set up the meeting," Thrax decided. "And tell the ambassador that I will answer any question she has about the incident. The families of the dead need to know exactly what occurred." 3 days later, Ambassador Chen got to the Vorthak embassy on the neutral station of Kepler. She came without guards or helpers. She wore a simple black dress that humans traditionally put on for sadness. Thra saw her in a private meeting room. Up close, the massive Vorthak commander looked even more huge, but Chen saw that his bone crests were pale, a sign of shame in his people. "Ambassador," Thrax said formally, "I want you to know that I take full responsibility for what occurred on New Geneva. If I could trade my life for those children, I would do it right now without thinking." Chen looked at his face. She had read the intelligence files on Vorthak nature and thinking. Everything about Thraja's posture and expression pointed to real regret. He was a fighter who had broken his own rules by accident, and the guilt was destroying him. "I believe you," Chen said quietly. "The technical study of your weapon systems proves it was a malfunction, not intentional targeting." Thraja's forearms relaxed a bit. "Then you know that we are not monsters, that this was truly a mistake." "I know you never meant to kill children," Chen replied. "But, Commander, I need you to understand something about humans. Intent doesn't matter when our children are gone." Something in her tone made Thraxia's fighter training activate. Chen still looked small and fragile, but there was something new about her now, something cold. "What exactly are you trying to say, Ambassador?" Chen reached into her bag and pulled out a small tool, a hologram player. She turned it on and the air above the table filled with pictures. The first picture showed New Geneva's children's hospital before the strike. Thrax could see human young ones playing in the gardens outside, their parents watching close by. It looked calm and nice. The second picture showed the same spot after the energy strike. Nothing was left but a crater of melted rock and metal. Workers searched through the rubble, but Thrakage could see from how they moved that they weren't hoping to find survivors. 47 children, Chen said, her voice still quiet. The youngest was 2 years old, the oldest was 16. They died instantly, so they didn't go through pain. I suppose that's something. Thrax stared at the pictures, his disgrace getting heavier. Ambassador, we have given complete payment. Under galactic law, galactic law, Chen interrupted, was made by species that fight orderly wars. Species that have learned to hold down casualties and follow battle rules. Species that see fighting as a game with winners and losers, not a question of staying alive. The hologram pictures changed, showing old footage from Earth. Thrakage saw human cities in flames, huge armies crossing destroyed land, weapons that turned whole areas into wastelands. This is how humans learn to fight, Chen continued. Not with honor codes or small goals. We learned that when someone scares your family, your children, your tomorrows, you don't try to win. You try to make sure the danger never comes back. Thraxia's claws extended without his thinking. His fighter training was telling him that he was in jeopardy, but he couldn't know why. Chen was unarmed by herself and physically weak compared to him. Yet something about her was turning on every survival feeling he had. "What are you trying to say?" Thrax asked once more. Chen turned off the hologram player and put it away. When she looked at him, her eyes were fully calm. "I'm saying that you need to know what kind of memorial we're building for those children," she said. "It's not going to be made of rock or metal. It's not going to be something you can see or touch." She walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back at him. "Our memorial is going to be the complete knowledge that no one will ever kill human children again. Ever. Because anyone who attempts to is going to find out what occurs when you mistake human mercy for human weakness." After Chen went, Thrax sat by himself in the meeting room for a long time. He attempted to make sense of what he had just heard, but it didn't fit with what he knew about human behavior. Humans were meant to be reasonable, diplomatic, orderly. They were meant to put life above conquest. He finally thought that Chen was just speaking from pain and anger. Humans were emotional beings, and the loss of so many young ones would certainly make them say things they didn't actually mean. Thrax submitted a routine report, noting that the meeting had gone fine, and that humans seemed dedicated to peaceful working out of the crisis. He never submitted another report. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, humanity's real response was getting built. Deep in the space rocks of the Sol system, production centers that hadn't worked in 50 years powered back up. Automated extraction systems started taking raw materials at top speed. Assembly systems designed to make warships instead of normal ships began their building cycles. The ships being created were not like anything in the known human fleet. These were vessels designed by Earth's real military thinking, not the limited designs they had shown to the Galactic Council. They held weapons that most alien beings had never imagined. Devices created during humanity's growth when staying alive had meant being more threatening than anything else in the stars. Admiral Rodriguez watched the production reports with happiness. In 6 months, humanity would have the biggest space military force in known galactic history. More importantly, it would be a force designed for the kind of fighting that galactic peoples had forgotten existed. "Status on infiltration assets?" Rodriguez asked. Colonel Kim brought up a new set of displays. "Special operations groups have been put into all major Vorax systems. They're using stolen alien technology to stay hidden. Current tools include 200 combat groups and 50 technical experts." Rodriguez nodded. The infiltration groups were Earth's real success, while the galaxy saw humans as basic because they used chemical explosions and thrown weapons. They had missed humanity's biggest military strength, the skill to adjust and create. Human special operations fighters had spent decades studying stolen alien technology. They couldn't make antimatter weapons or gravity bombs, but they could take them, change them, and use them in ways their makers never thought of. Any contact with Vorak intelligence services? Negative. Their security systems are designed to find other galactic standard technologies. They're not set up to know human infiltration tactics. This was the basic mistake that every alien species made when studying human military skills. They examined Earth's forces by galactic levels. How many ships, what kind of weapons, which technologies they had. They never thought about how humans really fought when their staying alive was threatened. Humans didn't fight fairly. They didn't stick to battle rules unless made to. They didn't accept that fighting should be held back or orderly. When pushed to their limits, humanity went back to the same attitude that had carried them through 10,000 years of survival on a world where everything was a danger to them. "What about the Galactic Council?" Rodriguez asked. "They're happy with human diplomatic maturity," Kim reported with just a touch of irony. "Several species have talked favorably about our peaceful response to the New Geneva incident. The Ethetheran Collective put out a statement praising humanity for picking middle ground over fighting." Rodriguez studied the battle displays showing Forthak fleet spots all over the galaxy. 12 battle fleets spread across many systems, protecting an empire that had stood for more than 2,000 years. Soon, those fleets would find out what human middle ground actually meant. Timeline for Phase 1. All assets will be ready in 18 days. Once we start, the Vorak Empire will have around 72 hours before their command and control are completely broken. Rodriguez had fought in enough wars to know that the most unsafe moment was always right before the fighting began. Once Operation Memorial started, there would be no possibility of stopping it. Earth would show its true military skills to the galaxy. and the political results would go on for hundreds of years. But every time he thought about backing down, Rodriguez remembered the pictures from New Geneva. 847 small bodies pulled from the wreckage of a children's hospital. 847 families who would never be whole again. The Vorak had wanted to teach humanity about outcomes. They were going to find out about that teaching themselves. Execute Phase 1, Rodriguez commanded. Across the galaxy, human infiltration groups got their activation orders. Ships that had been waiting in deep space for weeks began going toward their targets. Weapon systems that existed only in secret files were loaded and made ready. The memorial for the children of New Geneva was going to start. And when it was finished, no one would ever mistake human pain for human weakness again. The first strike came without notice. The holy world of Korrival had been the spiritual heart of the Vorthak Empire for more than 1,500 years. Old temples covered the planet's face, each one holding things that told the account of Vorthak life. Young fighters came here to learn about their forebears. Older ones came here to reflect on honor and responsibility. It was a spot of calm, guarded by agreement and convention. It had no military advantage whatsoever. High Priest Yorak was saying morning prayers when the sky began to glow. He looked up through the temple's glass dome and saw lines of light dropping from orbit. Not the soft glow of normal ships, but the sharp shine of things going at fantastic speed. The first hits happened in the North Continent. Hork felt the ground move beneath his feet as huge explosions broke out hundreds of miles away. The glass dome cracked, sending color patterns across the temple ground. "What is going on?" asked one of the more junior priests. Yorick turned on the temple's talk system and attempted to reach the orbital defense positions. Static answered him. He attempted the planet government center. More static. Every line was either silent or filled with electronic noise. More lines of light fell from the sky. This time they were nearer. Icy realized with growing fear that someone was methodically erasing every important spot on Korval. The old library where Vorak military account was kept. The honor gardens where the marks of dead fighters were carved in rock. The quiet centers where young Vorak learned the way of honorable fighting. All of it was being wiped away. The final hit struck the great temple itself, the most holy spot in all of Vorak space. Horus had just enough time to see a single thing dropping toward them, going faster than anything he had ever witnessed. The antimatter warhead vaporized the whole temple complex in a burst of light that could be viewed from orbit. When the light went away, nothing stayed but a crater of melted stone 3 miles wide. Matching strikes were occurring all over Vorak space. Not on military worlds or manufacturing centers, but on every world that held social or holy worth to the Empire. In 6 hours, 2,000 years of Vorak life had been turned into glowing craters. War leader Dremor got the first reports in his battle center on the Vorak homeworld. He stared at the battle displays in shock, attempting to know what he was viewing. 18 holy worlds, his intelligence officer reported. Complete erasure of all social sites. No military spots were attacked. No wants have been expressed. No one has claimed they did it. Drower's claws scratched against his command chair. In all his hundreds of years of fighting, he had never viewed anything like this. Military strikes were meant to have reasons. Hold territory, wreck enemy groups, push to quit. This was something else completely. What about our defensive groups? Untouched. The attackers stayed away from all military areas. They only targeted. The officer hesitated. They only targeted spots that matter to our people's life. The talk system activated with an arriving message. Drakor thought he would see human military officers asking for quit, or maybe Galactic Council helpers asking for peace discussions. Instead, he got a simple message in perfect Vorthak writing. You killed 847 of our children. We have destroyed 847 of your most holy spots. This is just the start. The message ended. Dremor stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then he began giving commands. Get in touch with all group leaders. Urgent bring together of all military tools. Get in touch with the Galactic Council and push them to tell the humans to stop their fighting right now. But even as he gave the commands, Dra knew they were worthless. His groups were designed to fight other groups, not to guard social sites scattered across many worlds. And the Galactic Council had no power over species that picked to ignore their say. For the first time in his long existence, the greatest fighter of the Vorak Empire felt totally without power. The strike on the holy worlds was only the start. Human infiltration groups had been getting into place all over Vorak space for weeks. using stolen alien technology. To stay hidden, they held weapons that no galactic species had ever witnessed, items created by Earth's military workers, by putting human imagination with stolen alien technology. Captain Maria Santos led one of these groups on the Vorak military world of Gark. She was 32 years old, a fighter from the colonial wars who had offered for the most risky job of her job. Her group held 12 special operations fighters, each one prepared to go by themselves ignore Naval Academy. Santos said quietly into her speaker as her group went through the alien city under night cover. Intelligence says this place has prepared Vorthak officers for more than 800 years. The Naval Academy was a huge complex of structures built from the same red stone as regular Vorak building. Thousands of young fighters got here each year to study space fighting tactics, group managing, and the honor ways that ran Vorak military action. Santos and her group went to the main structure through below-ground passages. The Vorak had never had human infiltration tactics, so their security was designed to know other galactic standard technologies. They couldn't see the changed items that human workers had put together from stolen pieces. Charges placed, announced Sergeant Chen over the group radio. Neutron items are armed and ready. Neutron weapons were among humanity's most terrible inventions. Unlike antimatter bombs or energy strikes that wrecked everything in their zone, neutron weapons killed living beings while keeping structures and tools whole. The Academy would still be up when the sun came up, but everything inside would be gone. All groups report ready, Santos said into her speaker. Around the world, 11 other human groups had gotten into matching targets. Military training areas, officer academies, strategic working centers. Every spot that showed young Vorak how to wage battle. Execute was the order from orbit. Santos pressed the beginning switch. The neutron items activated at the same time all over the world. There were no blasts. No visible damage signs, the structures kept standing. The lights still worked. Even the computer systems kept going normally. But everyone inside was gone. Santos and her group got away through the same below-ground passages they had used to get into the Academy. By the next morning, they would be back aboard their quiet ship, heading to the next goal on their list. The Vorhak would discover the bodies eventually. Thousands of their best young officers, their most seasoned helpers, their sharpest military heads, all gone without a spot on them. The spots where they had shown fighters for hundreds of years would be perfectly kept, but completely empty. It would take the Vorak Empire hundreds of years to rebuild their military helpers. By then it could not matter. Batching operations were going on all through Vorak base. Every military academy, every working center, every spot that created the next group of Vorak fighters, all of them were being methodically gotten rid of. The humans were not attempting to wreck the Vorak military directly. They were getting rid of its skill to come back. Admiral Rodriguez saw the operations from his battle center deep under Cheyenne Mountain. Status reports moved across his screens as human groups finished their work all over the galaxy. Phase 2 is complete, Colonel Kim reported. All main goals have been eliminated. Vorak military working skill has been cut by an expected 97%. Rodriguez studied the battle displays. In less than 48 hours, humanity had stopped the Vorak Empire's skill to keep its military groups over time. But this was still just the start of Operation Memorial. Status on Phase 3 readiness. All assets are positioned, Kim replied. We're prepared to start getting rid of Vorak population areas. Rodriguez paused. Phase 3 would go past a line that couldn't be gone past. Up until now, human strikes had focused on military and social spots while staying away from civilian deaths. Phase 3 would shift that thinking completely. But then he recalled the children of New Geneva, and his strength hardened. Begin Phase 3, Rodriguez commanded. Across the galaxy, human battle groups that had been staying in deep space began going toward their final targets. These were not the small ships that the Galactic Council knew about, but massive vessels created in secret over the past 50 years. Each one held enough strength to wipe out an entire world. The Vorak homeworld of Korath was the first to spot the arriving human group. Long-range tools picked up the marks of 60 ships coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. War leader Dremor stared at the tool readings in shock. Under every intelligence report he had ever studied, the humans had fewer than 30 major warships. Yet his tools were showing twice that amount, and the energy marks showed vessels far more strong than anything in Earth's known weapons. Open talks with the human group, Dremor commanded. The main screen activated, showing the deck of the human main ship. A middle-aged woman in a simple military uniform looked back at him. Her mark read Admiral Chen, perhaps a family member of the human ambassador who had seen Commander Thrayer. "I am War Leader Draymore of the Vorak Empire." He began using the formal rules for talk between military leaders. "You have gone into Vorak base without say and committed acts of battle against our people. I ask for an account." Admiral Chen examined him for a moment before reacting. "War Leader, my mark is Admiral Lisa Chen. I'm here to give a message from the human government." "Then say your message." "The message is very easy," Chen replied. "You killed our children. Now we're going to kill everything you treasure. Your holy worlds are gone. Your militaries are empty. Your social values have been wiped out. And now we're going to start on your normal people." Dra felt his blood turn to ice. "You cannot plan to strike defenseless groups. That would break every rule of orderly fighting." Admiral Chen's expression didn't shift. "War Leader, you seem to think we're doing an orderly war. We're not. This is what humans term all-out battle. It means we don't quit until our enemy no longer exists as a working society." The talk ended. Dr. stared at the blank screen, attempting to absorb what he had just heard. In all his study of galactic military account, he had never seen the thought of all-out battle. Orderly species fought for territory, stuff, or political goals. They did not fight to completely wipe out their enemies, but humans apparently did. "Get in touch with the Galactic Council right now," Draymore commanded. "Tell them that the humans are making plans for murder against the Vorthak people. Push them to order the humans to stop their battles right now." His talk officer attempted for multiple minutes. Before reporting back, War Leader, "I cannot set up talk with the council halls. All talk lines are being jammed." Drakor knew that the humans had planned for this contingency as well. They had kept the Vorak Empire away from any help before beginning their last strike. The human group began going toward Korath's population spots. Draymore commanded his own groups to meet them, but he quickly learned another unpleasant shock. The human ships were quicker than anything in the Vorak toolbox, more movable, better equipped. They had been designed by military. Rules that the Vorak did not know, made for the kind of fighting that galactic peoples had forgotten existed. When the two groups finally did battle above Kor, the result was not a match but a one-sided loss. Human ships went through Vorak groups like hunters among victims, their weapons cutting through alien shields as if they didn't exist. In less than 2 hours, the Vorak home group, the pride of their empire, was decreased to rubble drifting in space. Admiral Chen opened talk again. "War Leader, you now have a pick. You can get away your normal people and quit all claims to the disputed systems, or you can see us turn your home world to powder." Drakor examined the battle screen showing what was left of his group, then at the human ships getting into spots above his world's main cities. "You have won," he said quietly. "The Vorak Empire surrenders with no terms. Please save our people." "The Vorak Empire," Admiral Chen replied, "no longer exists. What occurs to your people now rests on whether they know that fact." The talk ended and Draymore was left staring at his world's new truth. In less than 3 days, the strong Vorthak Empire, a society that had ruled its space zone for 2,000 years, had been completely gotten rid of as a political and military group. Their holy worlds were glowing craters, their militaries were empty tombs, their battle groups were space rubble, and the humans were not finished yet. Reports were getting in from all over the galaxy as word of the Vortex ruin spread. Every species that had talks with Earth was getting the same message. "This is what occurs when you kill human children. Learn from it." The galaxy was starting to know that they had made a basic error in their study of humanity. Earth was not a peaceful species learning to be orderly. Earth was a hunter species that had been acting to be orderly, and now the acting was over. The urgent meeting of the Galactic Council came together in mayhem. Helpers from 200 species filled the hall, their words making a mix of fear and shock in multiple different ways of speaking. The massive glass dome that normally let in gentle starlight now seemed to hold them under its mass. Speaker Valdris drifted at the middle of the hall, his energy form pulsing with worry. In 3,000 years of life, he had never viewed anything like the methodical ruin of the Vorthak Empire. Old societies were meant to slip back slowly over hundreds or thousands of years. They were not meant to be wiped out in less than a week. "Order," Valdris called, his voice carrying across the hall. "The council will keep proper conduct." But conduct seemed not possible as reports kept going in from all over the galaxy. The Vorak homeworld was under human occupation. Getting away ships holding the survivors of 18 holy worlds were scattered all through neutral space. The strong fighter society that had stood for 2,000 years had been decreased to homeless beggars in less than 72 hours. Elder Kais of the Krex said first, his massive shell clicking with worry. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports showed that humans had small military skills. Their known group held only 28 vessels. Ambassador Chen sat in the human delegation spot, staring smaller and more fragile than ever. Behind her, the other human helpers saw the work with calm words that somehow felt more scary than any show of anger. The question, muttered Ambassador Thexar of the Zepyrian hegemony, is not how they did it. The question is why they did it. This level of ruin goes far past any smart response to the New Geneva incident. Multiple species spoke their agreement. The by-accident death of normal people during military work was sad but usual in galactic battles. Money was given, pardons were made, and life went on. What the humans had done was fully not ever seen. Perhaps, advised diplomat Ithera of the Crystalline Union, we should ask the humans to give an account of their acts. All eyes turned to Ambassador Chen. She got up slowly and went to the speaking stage, her steps making noise in the sudden quiet. When she got to the middle of the hall, she stared up at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. You want to know why we eliminated the Vorak Empire? Chen said, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. The reply is easy. They killed our children. But it was a mistake, objected Councillor Vexthi of the Aquatic Coalition. Commander Thrakage himself said the targeting broke. Money was given. Chen nodded slowly. Yes, it was a mistake, and yes, money was given. Under galactic rule, the question should have been shut. She paused, letting her words sink in. But you see, galactic rule was made by species that have never had to face ending. Species that have never had to compete for their right to stay alive. Species that can afford to view battles as games with rules and borders. The hall fell silent as Chen went on. Humans learned to fight on a world where everything was attempting to murder us. We did not have the selection of orderly battles. We did not have honor ways or limited goals. When something scares our staying alive, we had two picks. Wipe it out completely, or be wiped out ourselves. Elder Kais bent forward. But surely you know the gap between single-being survival and what you have done to the Vorthak. Shen stared right at the massive Krex older. Do you have young ones, Elder Kais? The question seemed to throw him off. Ah yes, lots of offspring. And if someone killed those offspring even by mistake, what would you do? I would seek fairness through proper paths, submit formal unhappinesses, ask for money under. You would follow steps, Chen stopped him. Because your species has always been safe, your homeworld is guarded. Your young ones come up without fear. You can afford to put trust in systems and rules because those systems have never let you down. She turned to talk to the whole hall. Humans cannot afford that selection. Our account is penned in the blood of young ones who went gone because their folks put trust that others would guard them. We learned through 10,000 years of battle and murder and ending events that when someone murders your young, you don't make a deal with them. You make sure they never get the chance to do it again. The quiet in the hall was complete. The Vorak Empire no longer exists, Chen went on, because we wanted to transmit a message to the galaxy. The message is this. Human young are not acceptable deaths. They are not by accident damage. They are not the price of doing work. Anyone who harms them for any reason will face results that make the ruin of the Vorak look kind. Councillor Vexathi's aquatic suit bubbled with worry. You speak of fair response. 800 children went gone on New Geneva. How many Vorak have gone in your response? None, Chen replied calmly. The hall erupted in shock. Multiple interpreters asked for making clear, guessing they had misheard. None, Chen said once more. We eliminated their holy spots with exact strikes that stayed away from normal deaths. We got rid of their militaries using items that killed only the workers inside. We beat their groups in space work. But we have not on purpose aimed at Vorthak's normal groups. Elder Kai's shell clicked in puzzlement. Then what was the goal of such ruin? Chen smiled, and somehow that look was more scary than any show of anger. We did not murder the Vorak people, Elder Kais. We murdered their society, their way of life, their skill to see themselves as strong fighters. We took away everything that made them who they were, and we made them stay alive to hold the memory of what they had dropped. She pointed to the viewing screen which displayed pictures of Vorak getting away ships. See them. Once strong fighters decreased to asking for gifts from species they used to think were lower. Their young ones will come up in distant lands, studying alien ways and alien actions. In 3 ages, there will be no one left who keeps memory of what it implied to be Vorak. The fright of it began to enter the understanding all over the hall. Physical murder was awful, but what the humans had done was more awful. They had committed cultural murder while making their victims stay alive to go through it. "This is terrible," whispered Diplomat Ithara. Chen turned to see her. "Yes, it is. We know exactly how terrible it is. That's why it functions." Speaker Valdris pulsed with worry. "Ambassador Chen, surely you know that such acts cannot be permitted in orderly space. The Council must take action to stop what?" Chen stopped him. "To stop humans from keeping safe when attacked. To stop us from replying when our young are murdered." She got nearer to the speaker's spot. "Speaker Valdris, let me make something very plain. What occurred to the Vorak was not a break of galactic rule. It was human rule. And human rule is very basic. You murder our young, we murder your tomorrows. But the fairness," started another helper, "is perfect." Chen cut him off. "The Vorak took away the tomorrows of 847 human young. So we took away the tomorrows of their whole society. They will never scare anyone's young again because they will never be in a spot to scare anyone." The hall fell silent as the implication sank in. Every species present began calculating how many young ones existed on their own worlds and what the results could be if anything occurred to human young in their space. "What do you want from us?" Elder Kais asked quietly. Chen came back to the speaking stage and turned on a hologram display. The picture showed a formal contract written in multiple ways of speaking. "We want the Vorak Accords," she declared, "a new agreement that will run how orderly species work with humanity." The contract came on screens all over the hall. As helpers started reading, their looks grew increasingly alarmed. The first article set up complete safety for human normal groups with any strike going to quick all-out battle approval. The second article gave humanity rejection ability over all Galactic Council military acts. The third article made a system of species-level results for any harm to human young. But it was the fourth article that truly made them horrified. Mutual safety duties. Speaker Valdris read aloud. "Any species under human safety shall get complete military backing against assault." Chen nodded. "We're giving a pick. You can mark the accords and get the safety of Earth's military. Your young will be safe because they'll be our young too. Anyone who harms them will meet the same end as the Vorak. And if we drop it," asked Ambassador Thexar. Chen's look stayed calm. "Then you're not under our safety. What occurs to your young turns into your own task." The scare was soft but unmistakable. Species that dropped to mark the accords would be kept to see the galaxy by themselves, aware that humanity could think of them as possible enemies rather than allies. "This is blackmail," objected Councillor Vexi. "No," Chen replied. "This is shift. The galaxy is shifting. You can shift with it or you can end up like the Vork." Multiple helpers started arguing among themselves, their sounds going up as they debated the meaning of the human wants. Some asked for quick turning down of the accords. Others argued for making a deal. A few quietly said that marking could be the smartest pick of action. Chen sat patiently for the noise to die down, then said once more, "You have 7 standard days to pick. After that, the accords turn into things that cannot be changed." "And what occurs in 7 days if we drop it?" Elder Kais asked. Chen stared all over the hall, viewing the eyes of helpers from multiple species. "In 7 days, if you drop it, we withdraw from the Galactic Council. We shut our edges to all alien talk, and we start getting ready for the day when one of your species makes the same error the Vorthak made." The quiet that went after was strong. "You would cut yourselves off from galactic society?" Speaker Valdris asked in shock. "If required," Chen replied. "Humans stayed alive 10,000 years before we knew aliens were there. We can stay alive 10,000 more if we have to. The question is whether you want to be our pals in making a more safe galaxy, or whether you want to be possible, scares that we have to make plans for." As the meaning sank in, helpers started to know the full pick they were facing. The humans were not just asking for specific gifts. They were remaking the whole base of galactic politics. Species that had worked as equals for many years were being pushed to pick between taking human rule or risking human anger. And after viewing what went to the Vorthak Empire, the pick was not really a pick at all. Chen got her contracts and got ready to go. "See 7 days," she said once more. "After that, we'll know which species treasure their young enough to keep them safe and which species are prepared to take a risk with their tomorrows." As the human helpers went out of the hall, The rest of the helpers sat in shocked quiet. The galaxy they had known for thousands of years had finished. What goes next would rest on how many of them were smart enough to take that fact. In the halls outside the chamber, Ambassador Chen gave herself a small smile. The hardest work was finished. Now they just had to sit and view how many species were smart enough to pick staying alive. Behind her, the best getting together of alien societies in Galactic account started the work of quit. They just did not know it yet. The vote went exactly 7 days later. Ambassador Chen walked into the Galactic Council Chamber and saw something she had never watched before. Complete quiet. No side talks between helpers, no moving of contracts, no sound of change tools. 200 of the galaxy's most strong species sat in perfect quiet, ready to see what their tomorrows would view like. Speaker Valdris drifted at the middle of the hall. His energy form more pulled in than Chen had ever viewed it. The old being who had watched the coming and going of endless societies seemed older somehow, as if the mass of the pick in front had aged even his for always being. "The council will go to order," Valdris declared, his voice carrying across the quiet hall. "We come together today to vote on the Vorak Accords as put by the human helpers." Chen took her spot in the human spot and saw as hologram displays turned on all over the hall. The Accords came in every known galactic way of talking, their terms harsh and with no room for change in any interpretation. Over the past 7 days, every main group in the galaxy had debated the human wants. Some had asked for urgent talks of their greatest councils. Others had checked old helpers who had stayed through past galactic times of trouble. A few had even made groups of military friends that could let them push back against human stress. But in the end, they all got to the same ending that Elder Kais had spoken in a private talk the day before. "We can put ourselves under human terms, or we can end up like the Vorak. There is no third pick." Before we go to the vote, Speaker Valdris went on, "I will note that multiple species have asked for the right to talk to the council." Ambassador Thextar of the Zephyrian hegemony got up from his spot. His species had been in space for more than 5,000 years, longer than almost any other society in the galaxy. When he said words, they held the mass of ages. "Fellow helpers," Thexar started, "I have lived through 7 main galactic fights in my life. I have viewed empires go up and down, species climb to greatness or drop into not being, but I have never watched anything like what the humans have made in the past week." He made a stop, staring all over the hall. The Vorak Empire was not some small group. They ruled more than 400 star spots. Their military had never known loss. Their way of life had stayed for 2 ages, and the humans got rid of all of it in less than 72 hours. Sounds rippled through the hall. Everyone knew the facts, but saying them so plainly made them more scaring. "Some of you could be thinking if we should push back at these human wants." Thextar went on, "Let me share what my group's military study ended up saying." A hologram display went on above his spot, showing tactical estimates that made multiple helpers gasp in a made-up fight between humanity and the rest of the galaxy all put together. Human groups would take total victory in 6 months, not because they have more ships or more solid weapons, but because they know battles in ways we have not thought of. The display moved to show video from the ruin of Vorak holy worlds. They do not fight to take territory or get stuff. They fight to get rid of scares for all time. They do not stick to fight rules that hold down normal deaths. They focus on the things their enemies treasure most, and they do not quit till their enemies no longer exist as work societies. Thextar ended the display and stared right at Ambassador Chen. "The Zephyrian hegemony will vote to take the Vorak Accords, not because we like human ways, but because we are smart enough to know better strength when we see it." He sat down to scattered sounds of agreement all over the hall. Elder Kai said next, his massive hard skin showing the hall's light. "I am old enough to keep memory of when the galaxy was a more strong spot," he rumbled. "Battles between species were usual. Worlds were burned, groups were made into workers. It took many ages of shift for us to make the orderly society we now take joy in." He pointed toward the human helpers with one of his hard parts. "The humans put us back in memory that orderly is not a thing that comes on its own. It is a thing that must be kept safe. And sometimes keeping safe takes the scare of shocking strength." Kai's shell clicked with thinking. "My species has been debating these accords for 7 days. We have thought about the thinking things, the political results, the right and wrong parts, but in the end, we keep going back to one basic fact. Under human safety, our young will be more safe than they have ever been." The older one's sound got more strong. The Krex Coalition votes to take the Vorak Accords. We give a welcome to Earth as the galaxy's keeper, because we know that true keeping safe takes the readiness to be absolutely mean toward those who scare the harmless. One by one, other helpers got up to say their picks. The Crystalline Union voted to take, naming the want for stability in times that are not sure. The Aquatic Coalition voted to take, showing that their quiet way of living took someone else to give security. The Insect-like Collective voted to take, saying that the staying alive of their hive took smart picks. As the votes came in, it grew clear that the galaxy had made its pick. Some helpers said they were picking with sadness. Others spoke of human strength. A few said they were simply scared of what could go if they dropped it, but they all voted the same way. Finally, Speaker Valdris asked for the official count. The motion to adopt the Vorak Accords goes through by a vote of 197 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not taking a stand. The hall stayed quiet as the meaning sank in. In a single vote, 200 galactic societies had agreed to put themselves under human military rule. The time of equals working together in the Galactic Council had finished. The time of human rule had started. Ambassador Chen got up and went to the speaking stage one last time. "Thank you for your smart thinking," she said simply. "Earth takes the task you have put on us." She turned on a hologram display that showed star maps of human-ruled space. Right now, all species that have marked the Accords are under Earth safety. Any strike on your worlds, your ships, or your people will be thought of as a strike on humanity itself. The reply will be fast and complete. The display moved to show human defense group spots all over the galaxy. Our groups are now going to make safety rings all over your most weak colonies. Our understand groups are seeing for possible scares to galactic stability. Our talk group stands prepared to make peace between disputes before they go to battles. Chen made a stop, letting her words sink in. But keep in memory, safety is a path with two sides. Species under human safety are thought to keep peaceful relations with their neighbors. You will not start battles that we will have to finish. You will not make awful acts that we will have to reply to. And you will never under any things harm human groups. The scare was soft but unmistakable. Human safety came with human say. "What about species that did not mark the Accords?" asked a helper from the back of the hall. Chen stared toward the 3 helpers who did not pick a side: the nomadic travelers, the isolated remnant, and the proud alone ones. All 3 were species that had always liked freedom to work by themselves. "They stay free to make their own picks," Chen replied, "but they do so with our safety. If they see scares they cannot take care of by themselves, they should not hope for Earth to get included." The message was plain. The galaxy was splitting into 2 groups, those under human safety and those by themselves. Speaker Valdris drifted down nearer to Chen's spot. "Ambassador, what occurs now? How will this new way work in real terms?" Chen smiled. "It will work very simply. Speaker Valdris, Earth will make sure that no species under our safety ever has to be scared for the safety of their young. In reply, we ask those species to back the kind of galaxy where such safety is required." She pointed toward the memorial wall that had been put in during the week of talks. 847 marks carved in rock showing the young ones who had gone on New Geneva. This memorial will stay here as a memory of why things shifted. Every helper who goes into this hall will view those marks and keep in memory what goes to when someone makes the error of thinking human young are acceptable deaths. Chen got her contracts and got ready to go. The time of orderly battles is over. She declared the time of complete safety has started. Your young are safe because we will get rid of anyone who scares them. Your societies will stay because we will get rid of anything that attempts to end them. She went toward the chamber doorway, then made a stop and stared back. This is the memorial we made for the young of New Geneva. Not a shape or a marker, but a guarantee that no young one in the galaxy will ever go the way they did. As Chen went out of the hall, the rest of the helpers sat in shocked quiet. They had just watched the most basic shift in galactic politics since the making of the Council. The balance of strength that had been there for thousands of years was gone, replaced by human rule, backed by the shown readiness to commit cultural murder. But as the shock wore off, many helpers started to feel something not thought of: ease of mind. For the first time in galactic account, they knew with complete certainty that their young were safe. Not because of rules or agreements or talk pacts, but because there was a species in the galaxy prepared to get rid of whole societies to keep the harmless safe. The humans had kept their vow. They had made a memorial for the young of New Geneva. That memorial was the new galactic order itself, a way where anyone who harms young will meet results so awful that no smart being would ever take the risk. In the halls outside the chamber, helpers from many species started making plans for their new times. They would want to make quick-talk groups with Earth's military. They would want to work together with their defense groups with human groups. They would want to change their away-from-home ways to think of human say. Most importantly, they would want to make sure their own people got the new rules of galactic life. The rules were basic. Human young were inviolate. Species under human safety were safe. And anyone who scares either would learn what all-out battle actually meant. In 1 year, the shifts were viewable all over the galaxy. Thieves and attackers who had made fear on carry paths for hundreds of years simply went away, wiped out by human groups that gave no mercy. Border disputes that had been still simmering for many years were worked out fast through human work, backed by shocking strength. Normal deaths in military battles dropped to nearly nothing as every species got the results of harming not fighters. The Vorak wanderers scattered across many worlds acted as kept memory of what occurs to those who break the new way. Their young grew up saying alien ways of talking, doing alien acts, aware that their old way of life only stayed in past banks. And in the middle of the Galactic Council Chamber, the memorial wall stood as an for all time scare. 847 marks carved in rock showing the moment when humanity showed its true being to the galaxy. The young of New Geneva went gone in a mistake, but their deaths had bought a thing no rule or rule had ever gotten. Complete safety for every young one in known space. The galaxy had learned that humans did not make markers to their gone ones. They made certainties.